Let's do this. Top 10 worst movies of 2022. I didn't hate all of these movies. Some of them were eh, like, but the weaker this goes, the worse it gets, as is common in a worst movie list. You know, there was a lot of really mediocre garbage this year that I just did not care about. The entire middle chunk of my list, I've seen like close to 50 films this year. So much of this middle chunk is just mediocrity incarnate. Like, there was an action movie that got directed by the Russo brothers that came out this year. It's not on this list because it wasn't that bad, but I don't remember anything about it. Who knows? Anyway, let's get started. Number 10, The School for Good and Evil. This is a Netflix movie based off of a book. I have read the book that on which it is based, although it's been a while. It's not that great of a book. I think it's okay. It's just not like a favorite of mine. And I think it did as an adaptation. I think it's okay. Like, I think the two main actresses are perfectly decent. I think Sophia Ann Caruso, or is it Sophie Ann Caruso, something like that. Um, I think she's very good in this movie. Um, I mean, it has Charlize Theron and Kerry Washington, and they're in the movie. And it has Michelle Yeoh for like 5 minutes. I don't know why she's there. It's just not that good of a movie. The story is not as interesting as I think the movie thinks it is, and it's clearly trying to be a lot more important and impactful than it is. The CGI is bad. It the ending is really dumb. I just do not care for this particular story. Um, and as usual happens, the book was better, but the book wasn't all that great to begin with. So, number 9 is Jurassic World Dominion. I don't have that much investment in the Jurassic Park franchise. I hadn't seen the first two Jurassic World movies. I have not seen those films. And I hadn't seen Jurassic Park 2 or 3 until the like around the time I saw this movie. Neither of them are that good. I'm sorry to admit. I really like the first movie. I don't like this one. Yeah, it's kind of dumb. I like seeing the original cast. I liked some of the action scenes with the dinosaurs because that is the appeal of this franchise. But for some reason, they made the plot of the movie about giant locusts. Yeah, because that's what everyone wants to see in a Jurassic Park movie. They want to see locusts and running around a corporate facility. Okay. It also doesn't help that maybe my not seeing the first two World movies tampered my enjoyment of this movie a little bit, but I just do not care about any of the new Jurassic World characters. Chris Pratt is basically just being whatever generic role every generic role he's ever been in. This is it. He's just um I don't know, cool badass who can do this, and every dinosaur ever will be like, oh, I trust you now. I do not care about any of these characters aside from the original three, who don't get that much to do, but I liked seeing them nonetheless. I don't know. It's just kind of a lame ending for this franchise, even though it's probably not going to be the ending for the franchise. I don't get why they brought back Dodgson as the villain, because, for one, like, what's the point? He was in the first movie for like 5 minutes. He was memorable in that he had a scene with Wayne Knight. That's it. He's not an interesting character, really. And so I feel like there was just a weird way to bring him back. Plus, it's not even the same actor. The actual actor who played Dodgson is like a sex offender. He's in jail. So, like, why would they even make it the same character? It could have been anyone. I get they wanted to have the similar death to Nedry, but They honestly could have done that with anyone. All they had to do was show the Barbasol can. That's it. So, yeah, boo. Bad movie. Number 8 is Turning Red. So, okay. I of all the movies on here, I like that this one was made the most because I like that Pixar has shown that they're willing to take risks like this. Because when you think about it, a movie that has like a pretty unsubtle metaphor about periods, like yeah, that's a pretty bold move for Pixar. And honestly, that has nothing to do with my issues with this movie. I think that's not a bad idea, and the it's just the way they do it that kind of bothers me because I mean, I don't think they were intending it to be subtle, but it's just pretty unsubtle in the way it's done, even in like the title of the movie, and it I don't know, I just feel it could have been done better. Plus, like they they say it they make this metaphor, and then they only have it be about this one girl and like the women in her family, which doesn't really make a ton of sense for where the for like what the metaphor is implying. So yeah, I don't think that works really well. And as for just the story of the film, I don't care about any of these characters. Like the main character is just a little bit annoying. She's not as annoying as I thought she was going to be, neither are her friends, but I don't know. I'm just not that invested in what's happening to them. The mom in this movie is so badly written. Like she's so over the top and such an idiot in every single situation that like it's not relatable, it's not funny, and it's not interesting. Like there's a way to do this to make her overbearing while not being like an actual cartoon. I know this is an animated movie, but like it just goes so over the line, and I know that's what they were intending, but it's like in the worst way. I don't like the climax to this one either because it feels like every single thing that you've seen this year with like her turning into a giant and being angry and now May's twerking at her, which I just don't get the way this climax was set up. I don't think it makes a ton of sense. So yeah, I really wish this movie no, I wish Pixar well in making more movies like this, but at the same time not like this because this one has some significant problems that I just think hold it back a lot. So, yeah. It was kind of disappointing because I don't know. I feel like they should make more movies like this, and I don't know. They just haven't. Number 7 is Falling for Christmas. I don't like watching these like Netflix generic Christmas movies. They just don't interest me at all because they all look exactly the same. The only reason I watched this movie is because I really like Lindsay Lohan, and I think she's a good actress. Or was. I have no idea what she's been doing since Mean Girls came out, but I haven't seen her in anything except this. So, I mean, she's fine in the film. I guess I didn't mind her. And they did make a Mean Girls reference. I don't know if it was intentional, but I mean, it was like she was singing Jingle Bell Rock, and she sang it in the exact same way, so I figured it had to be at least somewhat of a reference. So that was funny. That's the one thing about the movie's dialogue that I actually remember. This movie, it's so bad and it's so boring, and I can't stand any of the characters. Not one of them. The guy that Lindsay Lohan's like gonna fall in love with, duh, is boring and uninteresting. And they really, really, really try to make him like this George Bailey type figure where he's done so much for the people of this town, but they don't show any of the things that he's done. They just kind of tell you about it. You know how in It's a Wonderful Life, where they literally show you everything that George Bailey does up till he loses $8,000 and kind of goes a little. Yeah. They show you all of that. They don't show anything that this guy does. They show him being a goofy idiot and acting badly and having a daughter. And they say, his wife died. oh, okay, I guess that's sad, but just saying that isn't enough to get me invested in this dweeb. Her fiance gets so much time to be in this movie. He is one of the most obnoxious movie characters I have seen in a long time. This movie is predictable. It's boring. I loathed it, but not so much that I want to complain about it, just so much that I want to just never think about it again. The Mean Girls reference is the only piece of value that this movie had. Moving on. Number 6 is Pinocchio, the Disney version. Yeah, this one's bad. I put this way too high in the live action remakes ranking I did. It's not very good. It's not memorable. Like, I remember stuff from some of the other remakes, probably some of the ones I put lower than this, but this one just left no impact on me at all. I guess some of the performances were fine. When you get Tom Hanks, it's probably going to be a good performance because he's Tom frickin' Hanks. He's good, I guess. I still don't think the CGI is that bad. What else? Luke Evans is in this movie? What happened here? I don't know. This is just such a bland, boring, completely unnecessary film that I had no investment in. I don't care. I'm not all that attached to the original Pinocchio or the story in general, but there's a lot of ways you could do it better. This one doesn't really get the point across as much as it really should. Like, at the end, the ending message is weird where it's like, did he turn into a real boy? Who knows? You. What? Like, the point is that he turns into a real boy because he does all the things that the Blue Fairy says he needs to do. Okay, he kind of does those things, and he kind of doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. Here he doesn't really do that much wrong. He's kind of just manipulated and kicked around and thrown about. Nothing really new is added in this movie, except for some songs that I don't remember. And like I like Luke Evans and I really wanted to like his song, but I don't. I forgot it mostly. I guess the versions of the original songs are okay. Like I actually do listen to Keegan Michael Key's An Actor's Life for Me on occasion because he's another thing in this movie that's quite good. He's entertaining. Yeah, that's about it. I don't like this movie. Moving on. Number 5 is Lightyear. Okay. So you might, if you've seen Pinocchio in this movie, you might think, is it a bit of a stretch to put this below Pinocchio, which was just a bad remake? No, here's why. Because Pinocchio, it's not good. It is boring, but it didn't really do anything specifically to offend me. This movie really, really pissed me off for a number of reasons. For one, it was forgettable. It was boring. I don't remember any of the characters at all. That like, except for kind of Lightyear, who even still was still not that interesting of a protagonist. I think the movie peaked in the first like 15, 20 minutes when Buzz was going through time and everything was passing him by. That was kind of interesting. Then the movie does pretty much nothing with that and hammers you in the head with the message where it's like, Buzz, we need you. You need to work together. Dude, can you be a little less dumb about this? I don't know. The movie's story is not that interesting. I don't remember any of the jokes. As much as people were saying the cat was funny, I don't remember any line that the cat had. I didn't think he, like, I like the voice performance. I like his voice. I didn't think any of his lines were that funny. What's the deal here? And then there's the Zurg twist, which is so dumb and so incomprehensibly idiotic. It messes with like the established canon of the Toy Story franchise because like, you know, just spoilers for this movie. If you haven't seen it, don't bother seeing it. It's garbage. So Zurg in this movie is revealed to be an older version of Buzz. Okay, that messes with this movie's rules of time travel, I think. Um, it screws around with the logic of some of the stuff that happens here, and it doesn't make sense with who Buzz had been set up to be. Like, as stubborn as he is, I do not buy that he would turn this evil, even after however many years of age he's had to think on this. I don't buy it at all. And then, like, okay, if Buzz Lightyear is Zurg, why is Zurg in the Toy Story movies so intent on destroying Buzz Lightyear? It's a really, really stupid twist. It doesn't make sense. Because they literally got everything about Zurg wrong. He's not really all that evil, and when he's first introduced at least. He's not an emperor. He's not Zurg. Are you kidding me? Of all the ways you could mess things up, this is like the number one way you could do it. And then there's like, this does not make sense as a movie that Andy would watch and like. This is a boring movie with boring characters and boring looking animation, even though the animation is still very good. It's just like, I'd buy that he would want the toy. I don't buy that this kid would sit through this hour and 45-minute movie because, oh yeah, animated movies weren't that long in 1995. What? Ugh, this movie just bothers me a good deal. I really do not like it, and I am never going to watch it again. Moving on. Number 4 is Morbius. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, and in many ways I liked it better than Lightyear, but it's still bad. Jared Leto is okay, Matt Smith is okay. That's about it. The script is just all over the place, doesn't make sense. There's a lot of terrible dialogue. The action is weird. The smoke looks strange. The CG is very inconsistent. A lot of the time it's bad. Sometimes it's okay when nobody's moving. Other times it's mostly just bad. Yeah, the story is all over the place. The side characters get absolutely nothing to do. In fact, the movie focuses a little bit mostly on Morbius. It gives nothing to any of the other characters. Even the villain, until like the third act, he gets basically nothing to do. So, yeah. And then there's the mid-credit scenes, which are the most laughably terrible things I've ever seen. Not even laughably, they're just bad. Like, they don't make any sense. Why is Vulture here? How did he get here? How does he have his gear with him? Why does he think it has anything to do with Spider-Man? Why does he have no reaction to this at all? What is going on here? This is a bad movie. It's very, very bad. Let's move on. Number 3 is Samaritan. Okay, so with this movie, I honestly can't remember a whole lot of huge specific criticisms aside from the ending being kind of dumb and CGI being bad. But honestly, this movie made no impact on me, and I was bored for the entirety of its runtime. I cared so little about everything that was happening in this film, and I had no investment in anything that was going on at all. All of the performances are boring and forgettable. Even Stallone, even this kid who I've seen and stuff before and liked, all of them seem to be phoning it in. Especially Stallone. I don't care about anything that's going on. The movie is paced horribly. I mean, it's short. It doesn't really overstay its welcome, but it takes a lot of time to focus on things that aren't really important and then glosses over other stuff that seems like it should be important. And once again, the CGI is bad and the ending is dumb. Even though I honestly don't really remember how the ending goes, but I don't know, I thought it might be interesting, but I was just bored for the whole time. Which to some might seem like not a good enough reason to put it below Morbius and Lightyear and the remake of Pinocchio. I don't know what to tell you, man. I just really could not stand this movie. It was just incredibly lackluster and boring. So, yeah. Number 2, Halloween Ends. Let me tell you a story here. I know we're running pretty big on time here, but whatever. So, you remember like 3 years ago when Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker came out and nobody really liked it. They brought back Palpatine even though he hadn't been set up in the trilogy at all. Yeah, that wasn't very good, was it? It wasn't a good decision. Yeah, I'll acknowledge that. I don't mind Rise of Skywalker, but anyway. So imagine if in Rise of Skywalker, instead of bringing back Palpatine, who had at least been in other movies, they introduced a completely new character who was the main focus for the first, like, uh, let's say 80% of the movie. He's the main character, the one we follow. We get to catch up on some of the other characters that were the main characters of the previous movies, but they don't really matter as much anymore. And then that main character does a lot of really stupid stuff that he shouldn't be able to do, like overpowering some of the most powerful people in the franchise, and then he gets killed off like an hour 30 into the movie, and then the rest of it is the actual conclusion that we were hoping for the franchise, kind of, and even then it's still not that good. That's basically what Halloween Ends is. It's so bad. Corey literally doesn't matter to the story at all. Like, he gets kind of an interesting and compelling setup for his whole journey, but then he just becomes overpowered and also somehow really lame. But he's not a character I'm invested in because he was introduced in the last movie, probably. And then he takes over Michael Myers. He becomes his replacement. What? This doesn't make any sense. And then he just dies. Like, with 25 minutes left in the movie, and he doesn't matter at all to the story. And you could work some excuses in there. There's some stuff that he did to set up the climax. No, I disagree. He did absolutely nothing to set up this climax. They honestly could have put this entire climax onto the end of Kills. As Halloween Kills is now, they could have just shoved it in there, and it would have been too long, but it would have been fine. And even the last 25 minutes of this movie, they still aren't that great. It's kind of cool to see Laurie Strode take out Michael Myers, who has been kind of delegitimized after being beaten up by this goofy-looking high schooler who should have no power at all, but is somehow able to defeat Michael Myers. Did we forget that Michael Myers is like an inhuman? Like, he's not a human. He is a superhuman being. Oh my God. And then they grind him up to make sure that he really doesn't come back, even though he'll probably come back anyway, because that's how these movies work. It's just a terrible, terrible conclusion to the Halloween franchise, and one of the worst movies I've seen all year. So, definitely the worst theater experience. Actually, I kind of had fun watching this movie, because there's just enough really funny stuff that's terrible that made me enjoy it just a little bit. Lightyear was the worst theater experience I had all year because it was such a spectacular disappointment. I should talk about Lightyear and how bad it was even more. Never mind. Worst movie I've seen all year. Tall Girl 2. What did you expect? Come on. It's Tall Girl 2. The first movie was bad, sure. It was unsubtle. It was on the nose. It made really no sense. It was dumb. The main character came across as a lot whinier than I think they meant her to. And everything about the movie was just idiotic. This movie, however, takes things to a whole new level with the idiocy. So, in this movie, Tall Girl has everything. She's on top of the world. Everybody likes her. She has a boyfriend on the crate dude. I don't know. What was that? So, yeah. And then she starts having self-doubt. Oh, no. Honestly, that's not a terrible idea. I think that, self-doubt is a real thing. It's a real topic, and I think I wouldn't mind a movie not like this, a movie in general addressing that. The way this movie does it is the dumbest thing I have ever seen, because they have, the actual thoughts in her head being narrated by the actress, and she says everything in the most over-the-top manner possible. And it's so funny, and it immediately completely delegitimizes the entire concept because of how over the top and ridiculous it sounds. I don't know. And then there's all this drama that happens in the movie that you don't really care about because you have no investment in these characters, and neither do I. Because once again, Tall Girl just kind of comes across as whiny and annoying, and I still don't like her. The acting in this is stiff and dull. Pretty much everything about the production is bland and uninteresting. There is a really funny scene where Jake from State Farm, I am not kidding about this, is like standing behind Tall Girl and boyfriend dude in line for something, and they're gonna buy their stuff, and Jake from State Farm innocently and politely, as Jake from State Farm does, really charming dude right there, he just asks, "What are you, 6'1", 6'2"? And his girlfriend's like, "Dude," and the boyfriend dude gets like super mad, and it's like, you are doing this in the worst way you possibly can do it. This is so dumb and so just stupid. Anyway. Oh yeah, and they do a musical in this movie, and it's Bye Bye Birdie, which, okay, it just... So, would you imagine that a high school musical, when they're like performing a show, do you imagine that they'd have to keep it pretty simple and like not make a lot of changes or really any changes because you can get in trouble for that? Yeah, like yeah, there's ways that this works where if a high school is adapting a production, it kind of depends on their situation, but normally they have to keep it as similar to the original show as possible. And Bye Bye Birdie is absolutely not a show that requires any like interpretation in any way. So why, let me ask you, would they perform every song like as a hip hop remix? You don't do that. If a school is performing a show, they can't just take the songs and do them however the heck they want. Bye Bye Birdie does not take place at a rave or on a soundstage or wherever the heck they are. This doesn't look like what trippy budget was this high school built on? What is this franchise? I really hope they stop making these movies here, because this is somehow marginally worse than the first movie, but by a lot. Like, that should not be the case. The first movie was terrible. This is just the worst movie I have seen all year. There, I'm done. These are the worst movies I've seen all year. I'm done talking about them. Screw you guys. Anyway, thanks for watching. Keep calm and watch on.